Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring land.
Oh, just kidding.
Blasphemer! Hello,
right.
Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things.
All right, welcome back to Boring Reviews. Voice is still cracking. Nick here.
Gabe. Guy Tone Date.
And Gabe and I are checking out a trailer today. Just got dropped a few hours ago. This is called Maestro in Spanish. Since I'm the one that speaks Spanish between the two of us. That means teacher. So we got two maestros. Obviously, that's a joke. Gabe is fluent. I just mess around with some Spanglish every once in a while. And Gabe, what do you think this film's about with that kind of title?
Well, I'm assuming it's got to be some type of teacher, whether it's teacher of the fine arts, because just looking at the kind of what do you call it? The thumbnail, it looks like there's a lady there, so maybe he's either a music teacher or a dance teacher, something to that effect, but some kind of teacher, and then some type of relationship between student and teacher. I'm assuming that's what we have here.
Well, let's see. So I got the description right here. It's an upcoming Indian Telugu language black comedy crime thriller.
Joe.
It's directed by Murlapaka Gandhi, produced by Shrest Movies. It's a remake of the 2018. Oh, that's right, because Varun told me this. It's a remake of Andhadhun. Did you ever watch Andhadhun?
No. I remember you watching. You did the review, and then after I was like, oh man, that would have been a good one to watch. But Andhadhun, let me remember, because I remember watching a review on it. This is the one where he plays that he's blind or something like that, but he's really not, right? Okay, so I was like, man, that sounds like a good movie. Man, darn it, MGM! I was so mad I didn't get to do that one. You know what I'm saying? Why?
I'm wondering. Well, I guess Maestro could also be the music part. He was a piano player in Andhadhun, the character was. So that's interesting. This is a remake of that. I think a lot of times it's the Hindi films that remake other of the industries in India. So this is kind of flip-flop. It stars Nithiin. Nithiin. It stars Tamannah and Nabha Natesh. And also Jissu Sengupta, excuse me. This is coming direct to streaming on Disney Hotstar. So you're talking about a remake of a very popular film, Andhadhun. Me and Chris and I, we did the review for it, and there was a lot of comments like, you guys missed so much. You didn't see this, you didn't see that, and they're right. I missed so much. It's got so many layers to it. I interpreted it a way different way than it should have been. So, it's interesting. Remakes can go really, really bad, or they can be just as good. What do you think about remakes?
I think this is a little interesting because the last few remakes I saw actually happened to be Indian films. Remember, we saw it was two different versions of it, and they got like a whole bunch of Drishyam, right? We saw Drishyam, and at first I loved Drishyam. So then when people were like, "No, you guys didn't even watch the right one. You got to watch the original one," I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about, man. I love Drishyam. It was popping." Because the first one we saw was awesome. But yeah, the original one was good. I was like, oh my gosh, this is way better. You know what I mean? Yeah, especially the ending. I really enjoyed the ending. So now I'm like, okay, now it's and even the continuation, Drishyam 2, I love again. Drishyam, I gotta put it up there in like my top 10, Indian films of all time, period, of all the ones I'm
gonna put in my top 9, sucker.
Oh man, he went up me. But it's that good. But yeah, remakes are hard to do, man. And at least here in America, bro, the remake is getting killed. Most remakes absolutely just blow chunks, okay? They go to the box office to die, honestly. And I'm so nervous, honestly, for it's not a remake, but 50 or 30 years later, Ghostbusters Afterlife, I want it. But is it going to be as good? Is it going to be as good? I don't want the disappointment. Guess what? Pet Sematary, the new one, sucked. I was afraid of the first Pet Sematary. This one is trash, all right? Trash. I mean, most remakes were just bad in general. So for me, I'm like, I don't know what to feel.
I was just thinking about this topic, and this is going to be one of those videos, guys, that look in the comment section for when the reaction starts. It's going to be way later, because this is a great conversation. I just watched Free Guy with my two oldest kids over the weekend, and I really enjoyed it. It's a fantastic film, really, really funny, a lot of fun. And I'm thinking if I'm driving home and I got the kids in the back, and I'm like, hey, Jackson, my oldest son, go check out and see if this was based off a book or something.
Right.
Because it was such an original idea, even though it had elements of other things. And no, this was just original screenplay that someone came up with. And I'm like, man, Disney came up with something original. That's incredible.
Wow. Stop right now. Blasphemy. Okay, disclaimer right now. Okay, the views of Nicholas Peterson do not represent the views of
Boring. They know it's true. Bro, you know, I'm going to Milli Vanilli them in a second. Girl, you know it's true.
Oh, my God.
So, listen here.
CFA shut down. How do you go against the mouse? How do you go against the mouse? Oh,
we're on Boring Reviews. Forget. But this is my point right here. When you do a remake or a reboot, it's just to capitalize on that already established fans.
Right.
So why not put some time into it and make it really good? You have the fans already. You want to attract new fans. You already have that launching pad. Why do they just put no time into it and just throw it out? It drives me insane, right? That's what drives me crazy about
Let me ask you one more question about the remake. Let me ask you one more question about the remake. Do you prefer the shot-for-shot remake, okay? Where literally the film shot for shot, people are like, well, I already knew it was going to happen. Oh, do you remember? Or you prefer the here's a remake, but here's our different take on it? And
might as well, because we have the original. We can watch 1,000,000 times. These people are like, oh, you're ruining my childhood. You just killed my 8-year-old self. Watch the original one, for crying out loud. I want something different, right? I want something different.
See, there's the thing. You can't go wrong when making a shot-for-shot remake because then it's like, look, I gave you exactly. It's a remake. It's exactly the same film.
Why do we need that?
So the worst you're going to get is people like you that say, well, why not need a new one? Well, because we're going to update it, right? Better graphics, better cinematography.
Blades of grass? I mean, come on.
Go back and see which films get way more criticism. The films that get way more criticism are the ones where you take a director's idea and you try to throw your own spin on it and people lose their minds. It's disrespecting the original. The hate is just vicious.
I'm going to prove you wrong right now. How many different variations of Shakespeare's plays have they been put in the films? In India too, right? With Hader and whatnot, and all the other ones. So though you put a different spin on it, everyone knows and has heard about Macbeth and Othello and Romeo and Juliet. But that Romeo and Juliet that came out in the 90s with Leonardo DiCaprio and
that was dope.
Claire Danes.
That was dope.
That was awesome. You had these guys in like these Hawaiian shirts in the 1990s with guns, and they're using the dialogue from William Shakespeare. Yeah. That was a cool, fresh idea, and that's what I'm talking about. Have some creativity. But with that being said, I mean, it's like 8 minutes in. We're going to go ahead.
The ticker's going on. It's going to be Varun. The first one in the comment section is going to be like, reaction starts at 9:52, guy. He's good.
That early? We're going to go ahead and check this out. Don't forget, if you're still with us, or you probably skipped right now. Hey, how are you guys? You guys just skip forward. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And in 3, 2, 1. Some subtitles turned on.
కళ్ళు కనపడకపోతే ఉండే ఇబ్బందులు అందరికీ తెలుసు. కానీ అందులో కొన్ని ఉపయోగాలు కూడా ఉన్నాయి.
How are you?
Hi, I'm fine.
Oh shit.
That was just like the original trailer too. That whole sequence.
No play చేసిన ట్యూన్ చాలా బాగుంది అరుణ్.
But something is missing.
She looks a lot younger than that. Is it taboo?
Crab meat is an aphrodisiac. Spelling అడగండి. కావాలంటే వెళ్ళి చెప్తా. Wow.
Yeah, this looks very similar.
ఒక మర్డర్ రిపోర్ట్ చేయాలి సార్.
నువ్వు మర్డర్ చూసావా?
నేను ఎలా చూడగలను సార్?
నేను చూడగలను. పద.
It's so wrong. Yo. Scream mask.
అయినా ఏంటో ఈ జీవితం. సినిమాలో మర్డర్ చూడడానికే భయపడే నేను ఇప్పుడు మర్డర్ చేయాల్సి వచ్చింది.
Yeah, this movie is so crazy. Oh,
Oh, why'd you give it away right now?
ఎవరు ఆటో అడ్డంగా పెట్టారు?
ఆటో వెనకాల ఐశ్వర్య రాయ్ ఫోటో ఉందా?
the rabbit too. Wow. Even the rabbit looked the same. I think in the original trailer they didn't show him taking the contact out, but they did show the rickshaw, and he had said something like the one with this or whatever. It wasn't Osprey Rao on it, but
Right.
I think you watched our trailer, so you have an idea what it's about. What'd you think about that trailer?
I mean, I'm mad, honestly, because it looked good, and until the very end, right, we didn't know if he was blind or not. There was a little thing at the movie theater, right, when he looks over and grabs a popcorn. But again, I mean, to my understanding, people who are blind still see shadows, and they can still like sense depth perceptions, right? So that is explainable. But the minute he took out the contact, I thought the twist or how they were going to make it different was no, he actually is blind. Where in the original Andhadhun he wasn't blind. That would have been a better twist for me, since you were saying. But it looks like they went safe and did what I said. Make it shot for shot the same thing, so that way. The only people that be pissed off are the audience that says, why did we need this movie? We already had this movie. I just want to give you a fresh take on it, update it, but I'm not going to mess with the original art.
Update it was like 3 years ago, for crying out. And this has gotten delayed because it was like COVID or whatever. It was supposed to come out earlier. Listen, I think it's fantastic when you just redo it shot for shot. I think that's a great idea. I'm just kidding.
It's smart. It's
horrible. It's horrible. Even the trailer, it starts off the same exact way with the girl swearing right there in that very first part. I still remember that. So that's kind of interesting. The thing is this is the thing I will say, if it has to be shot for shot remake, with this one seems very, very similar. The thing I got to say is, if some people are not going to be exposed to Hindi films, right? Even if you're in India, you live in a different place, like, no, I only want to check out Telugu, then it's going to open up that audience for them. But gotcha. I would love for it to be, just a little bit different. There's still ways where it could be different, but man, it seems very, very similar. And it's unfortunate. The first one is so well made. The acting's fantastic. Everyone involved. It's such a good, well-made film where it has actors and actresses that we have seen in many other films as well. Right. It's going to be hard to top it. And I'm thinking that a lot of people are not going to be too happy about this.
You know what? I did just then when you mentioned something made sense to me now. Now, you know that people have their loyalties, right? And let's say if you're a fan of the Tamil or Telugu or even the Hindi, you kind of stick to your genre, right? A lot of times it's a language thing too, right? I don't necessarily speak that language, so I want to hear it in my original tongue. There was a Spanish film that came out years ago, and it was really, really good. I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me, but America made a shot-for-shot basically remake called Quarantine. And then that blew up, and then everybody went back to Rec. Rec was the Spanish version. Went back to watch Rec. So it got that like, oh, wow, I want to see the original because the remake was so good, and I want to see the original direction of it. So maybe it introduces an audience to another genre. Does that make sense? Or another film industry. And maybe it's just as simple as, hey, we watch films with subtitles. It's what we do with boring reviews. But sometimes it's easier when you hear it in your original tongue. It's not as much work. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you miss things in translations. A lot of times we've had translations, and I see it with Spanish films all the time. I'm like, that's not what he said. You know what I mean? It doesn't translate exactly. And they tell us all the time, this translation is horrible. So sometimes it may just be a part of that because of the different languages and the different areas. And I just thought of that when you mentioned it. So that might be the reason to have the remake.
Yeah, I mean, you might be right. Our question is, what do you guys think about this? Are you excited for this remake? Do you think like, nah, it's kind of lazy, it looks exactly the same, I'm going to pass? Let us know. Comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time,
we know all things.